Aerial lift platforms such as boom lifts, scissor lifts, and warehouse stock pickers are called Mobile Elevating Work Platforms, or MEWPs. MEWPs are found in a variety of work settings. They are often used in place of ladders and scaffolds, as they allow easier and safer access to places on the worksite, especially when working at heights. Unfortunately, injuries and even deaths occur with their use. It is vital for anyone associated with MEWPs to receive comprehensive training to ensure their safety and the safety of those around them. This training program will highlight different areas of MEWPs: terminology and classifications, equipment changes, safe use plan, retention of records, maintenance, inspections and repairs, frequent inspection, annual inspection, pre-start inspection, risk assessment, qualifications and training, worksite inspection, pre-operations, operating requirements. MEWPs are classified into groups and subdivided into 3 different types. Group classification is determined by whether the lift stays within the tipping lines or moves beyond the tipping lines. Group A is an MEWP that moves vertically but stays within the chassis or tipping lines. Scissor lifts are an example of this group. Group B MEWPs can move beyond the machine's chassis or tipping lines, which includes outside of wheels or outriggers. Group B generally refers to boom lifts. The type of lift is determined by whether the lift can travel when stowed or elevated, and the location of the controls which allow such travel. Type 1 MEWPs can only travel with the platform in a stowed position. Type 2 MEWPs can travel elevated and is controlled from the chassis. Type 3 MEWPs can travel elevated and is controlled from the platform. Type 2 and Type 3 MEWPs can be combined. Additional safety design features are now required on all new MEWPs. New safety features include load and tilt sensing, stability tests for pneumatic tires, wind force requirements for outdoor use, tow boards on all platform areas, non-flexible entrance gates, taller platform railings that meet OSHA and ANSI requirements, and sustained involuntary operation controls. All operators must be familiarized with the MEWPs being used and trained on the new safety features prior to operating. Existing equipment is not required to be retrofitted to meet the new design requirements. Therefore, it is important for all employees to know the differences between the company's various MEWPs and are properly trained on both types as needed. A safe use plan must be developed for each MEWP and must include, at a minimum, all the following items. A worksite risk assessment is necessary to identify hazards, evaluate any risk, create control measures, and communicate results with all affected employees. The plan must include the selection, provision, and use of appropriate MEWP and associated equipment. Additionally, the plan needs to provide for an assessment of the support surface and its ability to support the MEWP. Other required items include the maintenance of the MEWP, including inspections and repairs, the familiarization of the specific MEWP to be used by authorized operators, any local site requirements, and the means to protect against identified hazards in the operation area, monitoring of the work performance of the operator by a trained and qualified supervisor, prevention of unauthorized use of the MEWP, safety of all personnel not involved in the operation of the MEWP, and requirements for documentation of records. Operation manuals provided by the manufacturer must be stored in a weatherproof compartment on the MEWP. Employers must ensure operators read and understand the manual or have it explained to them. MEWPs must be registered with the manufacturer to ensure any safety-related bulletins are received. The following records must be retained for at least 4 years: transfer of ownership, frequent and annual inspections, service and repairs, and training and familiarization. A preventative maintenance program based on the manufacturer's recommendations must be established. It must be performed on a timely basis and take into account the workplace environment and the severity of use of the MEWP. Any malfunction or problem identified which affects safe operation must be corrected by a qualified person and authorized by the owner before the MEWP is returned to service. Prior to placing an MEWP into service, or if an MEWP has been out of service for longer than 3 months, a frequent inspection is required. A qualified person must perform the inspection, which must include all items specified by the manufacturer, including any manufacturer's bulletins, as well as, but not limited to, all MEWP functions and their controls, including emergency devices and operations, alarms, and communication systems. The following items are also required in the inspection: all ground-level controls and provisions for overriding of upper controls, all chain and cable mechanisms, paying attention to adjustment and worn or damaged parts, the lubrication of all moving parts, inspection of filter elements, hydraulic oil, engine oil, and coolant, visual inspection of structural components and other critical components, like fasteners, pins, shafts, and locking devices, instructions, warnings, and control markings, and safety devices. Annual inspections must be performed by a qualified person no later than 13 months from the date of the prior annual inspection. The inspection must include all items checked on the frequent inspection and items specified by the manufacturer for an annual inspection, including any manufacturer's bulletins. The MEWP should not be put into service until all malfunctions or problems found during the inspection have been corrected. Documentation, which includes the date and inspection intervals, must be maintained on the MEWP. A pre-start inspection must be performed every day or at the beginning of each shift by the operator, which includes, but is not limited to, the following: operating and emergency controls, audible and visual alarms, PPE worn while operating or occupying the MEWP, leaks to the air, hydraulic, and fuel systems, electric cables and wiring harness, loose, damaged, worn, or missing parts, tires, wheels, and wheel fasteners, instructions, warnings, control markings, and operator's manual, structural items, stabilizers, and outriggers, work platform, guardrail system, floor, anchorage, and mounting, brakes, fluid levels, pins and pin securing devices, operation of stabilizers, outriggers, and other items as specified by the manufacturer. If you find anything wrong while doing an inspection, write it down on the inspection sheet, report it to your supervisor, and never operate an MEWP with problems. A risk assessment must be performed to identify the risks associated with the specific MEWP operations. The risks could be due to the task being performed, the type of MEWP used, or the location of the work. Risk assessment must include identifying the work to be done and selecting the appropriate MEWP to do the work. One must identify the risks involved with the work to be performed and note the control measures to eliminate or mitigate the risks involved. Before beginning work, safe work procedures must be established. The risk assessment must include rescue planning to ensure the safe and timely rescue of workers from heights in the event of an MEWP breakdown, platform entanglement, or a fall from the platform. A written rescue plan must be created and incorporated into the company's training procedures, which addresses falls from the platform. The plan should limit the time anyone on the work platform, known as an occupant, is suspended after an arrested fall. The rescue plan can include the following: self-rescue by person involved, assisted rescue by others at the work site, technical rescue by emergency services. Once the risk assessment is complete, communicate the results to all entities involved. MEWP-specific training must be provided to operators and their supervisors by a qualified person and must be presented in both a language and vocabulary the trainee can understand. Operators can only operate MEWPs on which they have been trained, familiarized, and authorized to operate. Operators must be physically and mentally capable of operating the MEWP safely. MEWP operators must provide instructions and/or make sure all occupants have a basic level of knowledge to work safely on the MEWP. At least one occupant must be taught how to operate the MEWP controls in case of an emergency where the operator becomes incapacitated. This does not give the occupant the authority to operate the MEWP except in an emergency. Employers must ensure the trained operator is familiarized with the specific MEWP to be used before authorizing the operator to use it. Familiarization includes location of the manufacturer's operation manuals and confirmation they are present, purpose and function of all controls, features, and devices, and limitations and operating characteristics. Before and during the use of the MEWP, the operator must perform a worksite inspection and check for possible hazards, including, but not limited to, drop-offs, holes or slopes, bumps, floor obstructions, and electrical cables. Inability of surface to safely bear the pressure imposed by the MEWP in all operating configurations. Overhead obstructions, electrical conductors, hazardous locations, atmospheres, or weather, presence of personnel and other equipment, and traffic hazards. All occupants of the MEWP must receive instructions from the operator and, if necessary, personal fall protection equipment be used. Stabilizing devices, such as outriggers, should be in place as required by the manufacturer. Distribution of the platform load must meet manufacturer's rated load guidelines, and guardrails and access gates must be closed or in appropriate positions. The primary means of fall protection on all MEWPs is provided by a guardrail system, but there are situations which require additional fall protection. There are two types of secondary fall protection: fall restraint and fall arrest. A fall restraint system prevents a worker from being exposed to a fall hazard. Fall arrest systems are designed to stop a fall in progress. The arrest system must not allow an individual to strike any surface below the work area. A rescue plan must be in place that limits the amount of time an individual is suspended after a fall. Group A, Type 1 and Type 2 MEWPs, such as scissor lifts and manually propelled elevating work platforms, generally do not require the use of secondary fall protection. Group B MEWPs always require the use of either a personal fall arrest or a personal fall restraint system for the operator and occupants. There are many safety rules concerning MEWPs. It is important for employers and operators to know and follow them all. Some of the rules include: platform occupants must always maintain firm footing on the MEWP flooring. Immediately stopping operations if any problem or malfunction occurs during operations or the operator becomes aware of a hazardous location or atmosphere. Avoiding entanglement of the MEWP or adjacent structures with rope, electrical cables, and hoses. Ensuring proper ventilation is provided in enclosed areas. Refueling and/or recharging batteries in well-ventilated areas free of flames, sparks, or other igniting hazards. Never climb on the MEWP extending structure, and never drive reckless or engage in any type of horseplay. Use warning cones, road signs, and flaggers to ensure the safety of personnel when loading or unloading an MEWP on a public road. At the end of the workday, MEWP should be parked in a secure area or in a supervised area inaccessible to unauthorized persons and the keys removed. The potential risk associated with weather conditions must be addressed and controlled. MEWPs must not be used outdoors in thunderstorms or when the wind speed exceeds the maximum allowed by the work platform manufacturer. Be aware that equipment and supplies on the work platform can act as sails in windy conditions. Poor ground conditions, such as subsurface voids and inadequate outrigger foundations, can cause instability issues which can be very dangerous. Potential ground condition hazards must be identified and addressed. Operators must comply with manufacturer's requirements for traveling. An operator must visually inspect the area around the platform for obstructions and check the direction of platform movement by paying attention to the indicators and controls on the chassis before operating. Persons in the worksite area must be made aware of the movement as well. The operator must maintain a clear view in the direction of movement, including above and below the work platform. When working near energized conductors, the operator must stay at least 10 feet away from power lines with any part of the body, conductive object, or any part of the MEWP. A qualified person must be consulted in all other situations concerning electrical hazards. MEWPs are not specifically designed to transfer personnel from one level to another. Workers should only enter or exit an MEWP according to the manufacturer's procedure. Some of the risks which must be addressed include fall protection procedures, a sudden movement of the MEWP, impact of load changes on stability, and distance between transfer surfaces. Mobile elevating work platforms are useful pieces of equipment in the construction and warehouse industry. Always be aware of your surroundings before operating any type of MEWP. Be familiar with the MEWP's operating instructions by reviewing the manual before operation and perform an inspection. And finally, always work safely while operating or working on an MEWP, because safety always is part of your job.